What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the channel. And as you've started to see over the past couple weeks here in WardyNYM, it is now officially MLB trade rumor season, as we are a month away from this season's trade deadline. And over the past 24 hours, we have two new players to discuss that have been tagged to the Mets for different reasons. And these come from reports yesterday from our buddy Pat Ragazzo, great friend that's been on the channel plenty, that is on the beat for the Mets and affiliate through Sports Illustrated. Broke down that yes, the Mets are in fact scouting reliever David Robertson from the Chicago Cubs, and then a report later in the day yesterday coming from John Heyman of the New York Post saying that yes, the Mets have shown interest in the veteran Nelson Cruz, DH for the Washington Nationals. So that is what I'll be deep diving in today's video, guys. Everything that you need to know about these two players. How likely, unlikely are they potentially going to land in Queens? Are they a positive move or not the right move for the Mets to make as we get closer to this year's trade deadline? Should a deal transpire? And so much more. So as always, folks, make sure you stay all the way till the end of the video. Follow the details on all my thoughts on these two players and if they're the right or wrong fit to potentially land in Queens. Again, folks, if you found yourself enjoying this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, don't hesitate to smash that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you guys all so much for the continued support. Now let's hop right into today's video. Alright, folks, as many of you know by now, we have already discussed plenty trade rumor and just trade potential content on the channel this year, and the most recent one was a podcast that I came out with yesterday, presented by the Bleav Network, our Bleav in Queens pod. Myself and my co-host Joe Serralo, we broke down everything on the latest for the Mets, along with Trey Mancini rumors I did an individual video on separately over this past week. Make sure to check it out, especially make sure to subscribe to the pod wherever you get your podcast, because yes, our third and final co-host over the next couple episodes that you'll see a big announcement is in fact a former New York Met. You can't miss it, guys. It's going to be electric. Can't wait to have him on the channel consistently and wherever you get your podcasts. But going back now to the trade topics here, let's start with the reliever. That was the first report that came out yesterday by my buddy Pat Ragazzo, and that was regarding Dave Robertson. And guys, I've been working on a bullpen targets video for the Mets because I came out with a reliever, a starting pitchers video and a position player video for top 5 trade targets. Make sure to check them out. Links down below as always, folks. So relievers are up next, and Robertson is always going to be a guy I'm going to be discussing. He's 37 years of age. He is a rental, which is appealing for a Mets team that does not want to give up top prospect capital for any relievers for the most part by this year's trade deadline. Robertson is having a massive bounce back here with the Chicago Cubs after a couple lackluster years during his time with the Tampa Bay Rays, though he stepped up last year in playoffs, and with the Phillies, where he was out for the entire 2020 season with injury. He's a 14-year MLB veteran, a longtime New York Yankee that we know, who has great connections and great rapport with the Mets' current GM and Billy Epler during their time with the Yanks when he was a reliever. He helped scout him and get him drafted, as a matter of fact, that being in Billy Big Bucks, Billy Epler. And when he was assistant GM, had a great connection there with Robertson during their long time in Bronx with the Yanks. But now they could potentially rekindle that relationship here with the Mets. Again, Epler knowing him so well, that's great as is. But what I love so much about Dave Robertson is, one, he's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. Yes, is every other team that's a contender and their mother going to go after him? 1,000%. But the Mets surely have the assets to make a deal get done here that isn't going to cost him too much, being a red soul again, but someone that, when you look at his numbers, a sub-2 ERA this year as a reliever. When you look at the expected ERA, all the other advanced numbers, along with what you see here from Baseball Savant and the high percentiles, this man is legit. This is not a fluke season by any stretch for the veteran right-hander. And one more thing I love about Dave Robertson, folks, is that him coming in as a setup man, something that Seth Lugo has inconsistently been able to do this year for the Mets. What are they going to get from Trevor May when he comes back with injury? It's a huge question mark. So because of that reason, they need to add this bullpen, but they also need a guy that can get lefties out. Their lefty specialists haven't worked greatly this year, especially Chasen Tree that was just DFA'd. However, even as a righty pitcher, Dave Robertson, in that beautiful 3-pitch mix with the cutter, with the curveball and the slider, he has been making lefties look absolutely silly. His lefty-righty splits are exactly the same. Lefty hitters are batting right around 145 and righty hitters are right around 150. There's no difference for the most part, and they even have an on-base percentage of 274 and a slugging of 242 for lefty hitters. When you look at that curveball, that is his big swing miss pitch, has 20 strikeouts on the year for it. Cutter, he has 19, but he throws cutter the most. There is a 0.75 batting average for opposing hitters with that nasty curveball, and then with the slider, even lower, around just under 0.60. This guy has been unhittable all year long against righties and lefties, and that's what the Mets need to help bolster this bullpen. bullpen. They need a guy that is not going to cost them an arm and a leg, a veteran that knows how to pitch in a big market, in big spots. Dave Robertson is the epitome of every single thing that I just said there. So get him to Queens, baby. I would love the Mets to land someone like Robertson. And again, he's a veteran. He's been in the game for a while, but he has not slowed down. He is, in fact, a fine wine and can truly bolster this Mets bullpen that has desperately been needing consistency, help, and a dominant setup man for Edwin Diaz, and even be a save artist for the days that Edwin Diaz is not available. But now getting on to the other report, and that was from Jon Heyman again, discussing that yes, the Mets have shown interest in veteran Nelson Cruz. And guys, in case you don't know, I did a video on Nelson Cruz during the offseason and said how he very well could be the potential, even the best fit for the Mets to address the DH this past offseason. However, he signed a multi-year deal with the Nationals where he has a mutual option after this year, so he's technically not a free agent until the 2024 offseason. However, Nelly in his 42-year-age season is having a start of a decline in his career. Finally, we're seeing some difference here. And even with Nelson having 8 home runs, 46 RBIs, 38 runs scored in 76 games this year, he does have a 241 average, a 322 on base, and the biggest red flag for me, folks, is that he has a sub 400 slugging, the worst of his career in a very long time, easily over a decade plus for the man that feels like he's been in the league for as longer than my lifetime, it feels like. If you guys don't know, the Mets actually signed Nelson Cruz back in, I believe, 1996 or 1998 as an international free agent. Never played a game with the Mets, however, was dealt when he was still a young prospect. So this would be full circle, and I don't hate the idea. However, when we see what Nelly's doing this year, he is starting to decline. And what do the Mets need most at that DH position? You could rightfully argue it's home run power. And Cruz, he's on pace to give you right around 20 bombs this year. I don't know if Nelson Cruz is enough to really get the Mets over the hump for the struggles that they've had at that position. And I am, again, recording this the day after JD Davis just had his best day as a New York Met. First grand slam, 5 RBIs, all that great stuff. Dom Smith is starting to heat up since his call-up too. And if those guys continue to ride, then the Mets have even more crucial decisions to make by this year's trade deadline to really weigh, hey, do we want to continue the hot hand, or should we still deal one of these guys knowing that we can get a more consistent DH option? And that surely is what Nelson Cruz is. When you look at his baseball savant numbers here, guys, we know this story. Nelly is still putting up respectable numbers here. Yes, he's low in the whiff rate, but he's been like that for multiple years. He's above average still in K percentage. He is among the MLB's elite when it comes to average exit velo, max exit velo, hard hit rate, time slugging, XWOBA, barrel percentage, walk percentage, which is great because that's higher than last year by far. So Nelly's getting on base at a decent clip, even with a 322 average, but still lower because he has a huge swing miss rate. He's striking out a lot. And the biggest thing with Nelson Cruz, guys, is Jon Heyman came out with this report that the Mets have shown interest, in part because they know Josh Bell, who's the man that everyone, including myself, would probably want more than anyone else for the DH position, but he's also going to be one of, if not the most costly batter out there, even as a rental by this year's trade deadline, having a phenomenal year that we have, again, discussed in previous content. But Bell, the Mets do not want to give up top prospects for, so that's where a guy like Cruz comes more appealing. However, I find it hard to believe that the Mets would really completely pass up a guy like Bell just based on the current value when they could still get a reasonable deal done with some young controllable assets that would benefit both sides. Bell is a rental. That's what the Mets are looking for in a DH. Not even a guy to the same extent as Nelson Cruz is 42 and has a mutual option at the end of this year. And the biggest thing between these two guys is Nelly can't play in the field. He's strictly a DH. What does Buck Showalter love to do this year with the DH position? It's to get creative with defensive alignment. You have no creativity with your defense should you bring in Boomstick and Nelly Cruz right now. And again, I love Nelson Cruz. I always have, and I don't think he would be the worst option in the world, but I surely do believe the likes of Josh Bell, Trey Mancini, even Brandon Drury to a degree can bring more of a consistent impact and even give you some more defensive versatility than what you would truly get with Boomstick and at this point in his career. So guys, again, Boomstick, not the worst option, not the best option though either. When you really weigh the options right now, I want a Josh Bell. I want a Trey Mancini. That really does feel like a strong fit and a potential likely fit for the Mets from what recent reports have indicated. However, like any other trade rumor season, they're going to explore all options here, and rightfully so, making sure that they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. We'll see what they end up landing, and we'll talk about more reports as they come out on the channel, folks. But everyone, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about the New York Mets potentially potentially going after and or landing one or both of Nelson Cruz and David Robertson. My personal opinion, sign me up with David Robertson every single day of the week. Nelson Cruz, again, not the worst option. I do think he can be impactful for sure, but is that enough to get the Mets over the hump of what they're looking for offensively still? I just don't know, and I really would prefer Josh Bell, Trey Mancini any and every day of the week before considering someone like Boomstick. But again, that's my personal opinion, so let me know what your opinions are down below in the comments, folks. As always, if you found yourself enjoying this Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, trade rumor content, individual videos like this, post-game live streams, post-game recaps, prospect discussions, everything and their mother is what we're discussing here on the channel, no less. Don't hesitate to smash that like and subscribe button, share this video with your friends, put on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you guys all so much for the continued support. Help us get a 16K subs for that short-term goal, and I'm out of here. Let's go Mets, baby.